Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you and welcome to our witnesses today. Madam Chairman, just want to follow up. Well, let me go to the question of the rules implementing some of the Jobs Act. I got to confess, I continue to be frustrated. It's been over a year now. Reg A in particular strikes me as a relatively straightforward, relatively simple change in law that's been on the books now for over a year, and we still don't have a rule. What kind of progress are we making, and what can we expect there?
I think we are making progress. I think, Senator, you and I discussed this actually at my confirmation hearing, too, and I think I commented that from the outside, at least, it would seem to me that that is the Reg A Plus, as we refer to it, regulation should be one that could be done comparatively faster than others. One of the reasons it's taking longer, although it's very much in front and center with the staff and the Commission, is to make sure that it's workable. Reg A itself has not been used, particularly in recent years. One of the issues that we're focused on, there was not sweeping preemption given to that rule, is to make sure that it actually is used once we adopt the final rules. But it's very much, I have several things on front burners, but it very much is one of those.
So it's on the front burner?
Along with several others, but yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I know how reluctant you are to put a time frame on this, but I've got to ask you, do front burner things get taken care of this summer? Is that a fall kind of thing? When do you think we can...
Well, again, I would just comment, I am one member of a commission. I have two new commissioners coming on board, but I would hope we would certainly reach that by the fall.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Then I'd like to follow up on some questions that Senator Menendez raised. Could you just briefly summarize what you see as the advantages of the disclosure mandate on floating NAV, the daily disclosure of a net asset value with greater precision, which is one of the proposals, as I understand it, for the non-prime institutional money funds?
We certainly have in the proposal enhanced disclosures kind of across the boards, and as you know, a number of prime funds have actually voluntarily made disclosure of what I guess now is referred to as the shadow NAV. I think the floating NAV alternative that is the subject of a proposal would obviously have those disclosure features with it, but also would actually, change to a market value.
So I guess my question is, the argument that I most frequently heard advocating for a floating NAV was to provide additional and more precise information to investors. To the extent that that is provided, why is it necessary to operationally float the NAV? And secondly, I'd like to discuss the tax implications. But on the first instance, why is it necessary to operationally do so when the information is being provided?
Again, those are among the questions that we've, I think, teed up, with the proposal. But disclosure itself doesn't change the transaction value. And so you need, per this proposal, what it would add to disclosure is that you basically would be transacting at a market rate. So simply knowing what the NAV is doesn't deal necessarily with the gaming of the $1 price. And so the main thrust of additional money market reform is to deal with what is perceived to be, and we've obviously had our economists study this, the run risk or the possibility of the run risk. And so it's not just a disclosure proposal, although that's included.
It seems to me that there's always a first mover advantage, regardless of whether you disclose a net asset value or whether you operationally impose it. It seems to me the main argument has always been about transparency and greater disclosure, and that's achieved by simply disclosure. As you know, of course, there's a tax consequence if these minute changes manifest themselves in capital gains and losses that have to be monitored. Clearly, the SEC has no authority to make that problem go away or solve that problem, right?
That's correct. We've been working closely with Treasury and the IRS on those issues. One is whether the wash sales rules would be, in effect, you know, a problem if, in fact, the floating NAV proposal was adopted. And the IRS on that tax aspect has actually recently put out tentative guidance saying that that you would not have that negative tax consequence. There's another outstanding tax issue which we've not, the IRS has not concluded on, which is sometimes referred to as a record-keeping requirement, but it really would allow netting, which is obviously would be very important to this proposal.
I'm concerned that the operational challenges and potential remaining tax consequences of this would create a huge disincentive for firms, for institutions to use this very valuable tool, and I hope you'll keep that in mind as you consider finalizing the rule.
We certainly will, Senator, and we also have, and I think I've stated it publicly, are concerned about preserving the viability of the product.
All right. Thank you.
Senator